For coming today and welcome you as we open this session of our Committee on Public Safety for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. It is 4 o'clock p.m. If you would, let's just take a moment of silence, please. Amen. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to the committee for allowing me to do this virtually. I found out that I have the very contagious norovirus or stomach flu right now. So we certainly don't need to spread that. And so I appreciate you allowing me to chair this meeting virtually. And hopefully it'll work. Hopefully I'll be able to see who needs to speak and be able to run it virtually since we have at least 3 council members in the chamber along with staff. So first of all, we need to approve our minutes for February 18th,
Move
2020.
for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any additions, deletions, any other comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been passed. Next on the agenda, item number 3, the police department's asking for an approval to enter into a subaward agreement with 10-8 Communications for services rendered as part of the FY24 COPS Community Policing Development Micro Grant Project. 10-8 Communications will be reimbursed up to a total of $18,364 for services using funds from the FY24 COPS Community Policing Development Micro Grant.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on to that one passes. We'll move on to item number 4 for the police department. We have an approval to enter into a subaward agreement with Fair and Impartial Policing, LLC for services rendered as part of the FY24 COPS Community Policing Development
I
Micro.
move for approval on that also.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion, questions on that? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that item passes. The next 2 items, number 5 and 6, are grants with no match required, both for the police department. First one, approval to submit an application for the SCDPS 2025 Paul Coverdale Forensic Science Grant in the amount of $81,446.60. The grant will fund a ballistic analysis system to triage cartridge cases.
I'll move.
I move for approval. 5 and second.
All right, we have a motion to approve both items 5 and 6. Any other discussion on those? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 7, Police Department is asking for an approval to submit an application for the FY26 Supplemental Allocation for Victim Services Grant in the amount of $9,140.14. The grant will fund training and supplies for the CPD Elder Advocate.
I move for approval.
All right, there is a 20% match. We have a move for approval and a second. Any further discussion on that one? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm in agreement with all the other members, we can take the other 2, 7, 8, 8 and 9 together, which is also submit an application for a grant, and there's no city match to either one.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve items 8 and 9 and a second. Any further discussion on those? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. So next up, we're going to call Chief Dan Curria. If you would, Chief Curria, to tell us about the city fire department update, please.
Thank you, Council Member. So just a brief update to talk about the fire department, specifically recap 2024 for the department. And as we go through this presentation, I will say we've already sent out the annual report for 2024. So a lot of the metrics that we measure are included in that report. Almost every metric that we measure concerning response times is trending in the right direction. We still have some improvement to make with EMS response times, but those are things that are largely within our control. So we will work internally to get those taken care of. So if we go from 2024 and we start 2025 talking about what our challenges and our opportunities are. First off, the department is almost 93% staffed, which is a big win if we think back over the previous 6.5, 7 years. The departmental makeup is shifting to something that more reflects the community. It may be a little slower than we anticipated, but I'll go into that in a couple of minutes. I think we are on the right track with that. Our firefighters do still struggle with the cost of living, pay versus cost of living, and an inordinate number of our exit interviews that we do with staff indicates this as an issue. Leadership vacuum, I don't mean that in a negative way. What I mean by that is that the growth in the department has been such over the last couple of years that we have constantly needed people to step up and take further leadership roles in the department. And even with the growth that we've had, we continually have the team members stepping up. Speaking of growth, challenges and opportunities, we are expanding into Johns Island. We are making strides to get into Cainhoy with further fire protection. And part of the long-range plan for the fire department is to make sure we keep up with that growth. Facilities issues, I'll have a slide about that in a minute, but we have made tremendous progress over the last couple of years. And I want to make sure that we highlight those wins within the department. And then, of course, we always try to improve morale. And one of the ways that we are trying to do that is to move to a different schedule that we will trial in May of this year. And I will talk about that in a minute. So with the morale, one thing that we know with firefighters, and I would put police officers in there also, is that the nature of the job demands that our firefighters see things that the public just doesn't see. So we have severe mental health challenges in the fire department just by the nature of the job. We also have to acknowledge the fact that a firefighter's chance of getting cancer is much, much higher than that of the general public. So in trying to address morale issues in the department, we are trying to make sure that we pay due attention to the mental health aspects. And in the budget process in 2026, we'll be coming forward with initiatives that address both mental health and cancer prevention. One of the things that we know we can do to positively affect mental health and actually cancer prevention also is the quality of sleep firefighters get while they are both on duty and then the restorative sleep that they get when they are off duty, which is leading us to a different schedule trial. Firefighters currently work 24 hours on, 48 hours off. If you think that through, they don't really have a day where they get restorative sleep. They either have a day where they're coming off shift or they have the next day where they're preparing to go on to shift. So in May, we are proposing to trial a schedule that will have a firefighter work 1 day on, 3 days off, two days on, 3 days off, which would afford that middle day, that middle off day in each of the 3-day periods. The firefighter would have the chance for restorative sleep. That should help the firefighter with any call processing that he or she needs to do, and then also lower the rate of cancer. That is a trend in the fire service. That is not something that the Charleston Fire Department came up with. Several of our neighbors have moved to 48 hours on and 96 hours off. Personally, I don't want our firefighters continually working 48-hour shifts, which is leading us to the 1 day on, 3 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. We're trying to build a trusting culture And one of the things that is really, really important is to listen to the concerns of our team. And if they're appropriate, we act on them. The best way that we can do that is to make sure that we are getting an appropriate amount of face time with our team. So we track how many days or how many times senior leadership in the department, that's assistant chiefs and above, get out and do quality visits with team members. So in 2024, we were able to accomplish 265 station visits to our team members to try to hear what is concerning them and then, of course, address those things. With retention, I will say this, and it is leading to our shift in how we're approaching retention in the fire department, but we don't have a recruitment issue. We are planning for a fire academy that will start in July of this year, and currently, I believe we have 300 applications. That's with a couple of months to go. So we don't have a recruitment issue, but we do have a retention issue. So we need to make sure that we're devising strategies to keep the team members that we onboard. It takes us 6 months to train a firefighter. It takes thousands of dollars to equip a firefighter. So we want to do everything we can to make sure that those firefighters don't walk out the door, typically to another fire department. So when we talk about recruitment and we talk about retention, if you look over to the right-hand side of the slide, if we look at the vacancy rate, and this is specific to our operations division, these are the firefighters that are riding the fire trucks every single day. If we look back to 2018, and the reason I typically use 2018 is it's the year I walked into the Charleston Fire Department. So I tend to view things in the perspective of what have we done in the last 6.5 years. So in 2018, we had a vacancy rate of 21% in the operations division of the fire department. That was 74 vacancies. If we drop down to the end of 2024, our vacancy rate was almost 4%. That is a huge, huge improvement. But again, what we are finding is that we're bringing firefighters in, we're training those firefighters, and then a large number of them do leave. We probably lose 2 firefighters a month for other opportunities. So the better we can retain those firefighters, the better it's going to be for the city, one from a cost perspective, but also, yes, sir. Well, both. Over the last several years, it has typically been to go to another fire department that we've seen people leave. In the last 18 months, I would say, it's mostly to go to other fire departments, but there is a trend that firefighters are going to private industry and staying in the Charleston area. So again, the more we can retain our team, the better off we're going to be. It saves us money, but then in the fire department, and again, with the police department, I feel would be the same. This is a profession in which experience really does matter. And a 1-year firefighter versus a 5-year firefighter is a drastically different firefighter. Councilmember?
Yep. I just had a question because, we worked really hard to fix the pay issue. And when you look at turnover normally, pay is kind of the first issue of right once more. So we tried as best we could to address that and make them, if not the highest, among the highest paid in the region. So when they're taking a new position in another fire department, is it a pay increase generally, or like what are you kind of seeing?
I would say it's two different things. One, the benefits package may be different. We do have firefighters who leave and go out of state, where maybe healthcare is taken care of in retirement, or a higher percentage of healthcare is taken care of in retirement. But if we have a firefighter that leaves and stays local, what I would say is with the local fire departments, they look at Charleston, they look at what we pay, they look at the pay plan that the firefighters operate within, and many fire departments try to make sure that they stay just ahead of us so that they can try to, one, maintain their own competitive advantage, but then also it provides other opportunities for Charleston firefighters. Yes, Mayor.
And would that be compounded, or that issue compounded with the fact that, and I'm asking this, other fire departments, with the exception perhaps of North Charleston being a large municipality, um, it's not as strenuous in terms of number of calls and the like. And then the other question I have is, do you get in these exit interviews, you mentioned earlier, cost of living? I mean, if you're going up to a fire department in, say, rural Berkeley County, cost of living might be significantly lower. I mean, are we hearing that as well?
Yes. So the first part of your question, I think, is it a slower environment that they're operating in? I would say no. Firefighters, by and large, are wired that they want to go to these emergencies. They want to help the community. So I wouldn't say that going to a slower fire department is the predominant factor. But what I will say is that if they're going to another fire department, even if the pay is comparable, we find that about 50% of our team lives in the city of Charleston. The other 50% is up maybe in the Somerville area, Berkeley County area. So if they leave and the money is just a little bit better, but their commute is drastically shorter, then that's what starts to create the environment that has the team going for other opportunities. So the normal vacancy rate is about 5%. I would say as we've entered into 2024, with a couple of people leaving the department, we're slightly above 5% now. That will continue to grow until we bring on the new group of firefighters, which we do in July of each year. This year, we are anticipating a group of 50 firefighters, 50. That is one, to account for attrition, but then also the addition of engine 122, which will serve the Cainhoy area and will be activated in early 2026. Another thing to point out is that typically our call volume has gone up 10% per year for several years, but going from 2023 into 2024, we only saw a 5% increase in call volume. It's about 1,200 calls. And as we start to take a quick look at the data, I can't point to one single thing that would influence that. It could be that there were fewer storms from, in 2024. Intuitively, that doesn't feel right to me. It could be that community risk reduction efforts are paying off. I mean, there's a number of factors, but if we see that trend continue, we'll dive into that more. So positive trends, leadership development. I have to thank the mayor and council. Over the last couple of years, money has been devoted for leadership development in the Charleston Fire Department. At first, we focused on chief officers. We have 32 chief officers in the fire department. I, of course, take one of those positions. So of the 31 that we have left, in the last 6.5 years, I've put 27 of those people in their positions. So only 4 chief officers have not gone to a different position in the last 6.5 years. That, of course, creates its own challenges. However, we've brought a consultant in, and the consultant has done wonders for us in navigating those challenges. The city also appropriated money for 2025, so we will take the same leadership development that we have employed for the chief officers, and we are rolling that out to the captains in the current year. So that's a very good sign for us. We are an expanding fire department. In 2023, we added additional ladder coverage on Johns Island. In 2024, we added an additional engine company on Johns Island. And in the upcoming year, we will provide an additional engine company in Cainhoy. So every year, the department is growing. And as we start to secure land, build firehouses, we'll be able to make sure that as the population increases in different areas of the city, the Charleston Fire Department will be ready to provide the service that people need. We have had several promotional processes, and I'll go back to the leadership vacuum statement that I made a little while ago. That's not a negative thing. It's actually a very positive thing that with the growth in the department, team members have constantly stepped up to fill the void that we create. And we are moving in the right direction. People moving up into leadership positions, coupled with the fact that we are providing more leadership development, is a good equation. Last year, emergency management was rolled into the Charleston Fire Department. And the most honest thing I can say is that we're still getting our feet under us in that realm. But I will also say where we are positioned is much, much better than, say, 18 months ago. So I'm very pleased with that. I want to point out we were able to bring a national fire conference to Charleston last October. We will have it for the next 2 years in addition to last year. I'm going to point out some progress we've been making on facilities. The part that you can't see there is the International Fellowship Program. We were able to bring 8 Saudi firefighters to Charleston and embed them into the Charleston Fire Department for 6 months last year. One, to show them how the American Fire Service operates so they can go back to Saudi Arabia and train their own team. But then also it shows our team that firefighters across the world, not just across the country, are a very similar breed, and we can learn just as much from them as they can from us. On the right-hand side of the slide, I'd like to point out that our hiring process has shrunk from months to onboard a firefighter to 4 days. Testing, interview, and job offer. We start on Saturday, we make job offers on Tuesday. We give them 3 weeks to put in their notice at their previous employers, then we onboard them into a fire academy. And then also we're doing a strategic plan revamp. I'm always incredibly proud of the mission and the vision of the Charleston Fire Department. Excellent people providing exceptional service to create a safer Charleston. And that's exactly what we're doing. So if we look at departmental makeup, we have focused over the last several years to create an environment where the Charleston Fire Department and the community that we serve are very much aligned. Say in every area that we measure, we have seen improvement. So part of the success there is that the diversity and recruitment position that we allocated in 2021 is constantly getting out. They're constantly in the schools. They're constantly at job fairs in the Charleston area. Initially, we focused statewide, but we have really honed that in, and we're focusing on the Charleston area, trying to bring Charleston residents into the Charleston Fire Department. It solves many problems for us. One of those being somebody's already acclimated to the cost of living in Charleston. So if we tell them we're going to pay them a certain dollar amount, they already know what that dollar amount means in the Charleston area. We were approved to bring a consultant in. That was in 2023. We actually went through an RFP process. But what we have found over the last several months, we have not executed the contract. And I would say we need to not execute the contract. What we have found is that we are making tremendous progress with our team by one-on-one conversation, one-on-two conversation, to talk about the incredible benefits we get with a fire department that reflects the community and the potential impacts that we can make in the community if we can create that environment. And then also the opportunities that we miss if we field a fire department that doesn't look like the community. It's taking a little more time than I would anticipate, but the payoff, as we invest time into having these conversations, the payoff, when you see the light bulb go off with the team and they understand what we're trying to do, the payoff is much more than I think bringing a consultant in from out of town would provide for us. The fire department is very fortunate to work with within a pay plan. So obviously we still have issues with pay and the cost of living. We've already talked about that. We're working to roll the fire marshal group into the fire pay plan. We're continuing to develop the leadership. We're continuing to plan to provide service in this growing city. I do want to take a moment to highlight facilities. This was one of the things when I came to Charleston in 2018, I was told to focus on facilities. And I think it's fair to say Mayor Cogswell and I have had several conversations about using the condition, the positive condition of our facilities as a retention tool. So here are the different facilities in the fire department broken down into major areas of the city. What I want to point out to you is everything that's highlighted in yellow has had some major work done in the last 6.5 years. So if you look at this, or there's major work being planned. If you look at this slide, in the peninsula, we have Station 15 on Cumming Street. We're going to need to plan for a renovation of that facility. On the peninsula, we can only do so much work at one time because we only have limited capacity to shift fire coverage around. James Island, both firehouses have been renovated in the last few years. Johns Island, we are planning for a renovation of Station 17. We're on hold with that because of DOT, and we're waiting to see the work that's going to occur with Bohicket Road and Maybank Highway. West Ashley, just about everything has been addressed. And if we look at Daniel Island, we're going to renovate Station 18 this year. We don't have anything planned for Station 21, but everything else in this fire department has been addressed in the last several years. The state of our facilities has improved drastically. Now, we still have a couple of big things to tackle, namely Station 20 in Cainhoy and the expansion of different firehouses throughout the city, but I want to celebrate this win. So, the road ahead for the Charleston Fire Department, we will continue to ensure first-class service. We are working on pay. We are working on retention. We are working with capital projects to make sure that facilities are taken care of. We are focused on community risk reduction. The more the community can address their own issues before the fire department gets there, the better off we're going to be. We've talked a lot about leadership development. We'll continue with that. We're focused on mental health and cancer prevention. Part of that focus is trialing a schedule that takes us to 1 day on, 3 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off. All that to reinforce the fact that our fire department is a family. If you look over on the right-hand side, you see our Charleston 9, and we want to make sure that we honor them every day. But then you look at this new crop of firefighters in the lower right, we want to make sure that they are prepared, one, for the challenges that they face today, but then for the challenges that they're going to face. I will take any questions you have.
Any questions for Chief Currier?
Just a comment, just wanted to say, Chief, it's a pretty thorough report. Appreciate all the hard work that's gone into it, and really proud of the work that the fire department has done over the past year plus since I've been here. It's very impressive working with you too as well. Clearly love your job, love your community, so just want to say thank you, and looking forward to working with you on these facilities and keeping the department as healthy as it could be.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Curry. Appreciate it. Thank you for your incredible leadership. We appreciate it, and the other men who lead our fire department. Thank you so much. So we will. The next item number 11 on our agenda, has been deferred by staff. So we will move on to item number 12. I'm going to call on Chief Cheeto Walker to talk with us about the establishment of Chief Citizen Liaison Group to replace the Citizens Police Advisory Council. Chief?
Good morning. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Council. Just real quick, first I want to preference by just thanking our current board and previous board under the leadership of Twan Fields and Paul Tamarino with the Citizens Advisory Council. With that being said, man, we've done so much as far as evolve as an agency. Extremely proud of the work that we're able to accomplish. But with that being said, I want to try to ratchet it up a notch and evolve kind of our engagement of what we're doing in the community to kind of be more in line with the strategic goals of where we're going as far as public safety. So I invite Steve up to kind of go over the guidelines of what that would look like, but really more community involvement and tweaking some of the guidelines that we currently have to kind of accommodate those acts. And I'll take questions after he present the changes to the guideline.
So first off, we've changed the composition numbers a little bit. We currently have 18 on the CPAC. This would be a minimum of 5 members all the way up to 13. They would be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of city council. There would be a chair and vice chair, which would serve 1-year terms. The requirements for being on in the group would be completing the Citizen Police Academy, have to have an interest in community police relations, have to reside or own a business within the city. Students, both high school and college, would of course still be eligible to serve, but they would either have to live in the city or attend school in the city. A lot of the same requirements that we had for CPAC: no outstanding warrants, no pending indictments, no probation or parole, no legal claims against the city. We'd also want the membership to go on a ride-along with a police officer within 6 months of their appointment, attend department, community, and neighborhood events, which I think is one of the most important things we're asking, is the members be out in the community attending these events and bringing feedback from the community back to the police department, and likewise taking the initiatives the police department comes up with back out into the community to educate the community and also get feedback from the community. The terms would stay the same, 3-year terms. You can serve up to 2 consecutive terms. You serve until you're replaced. You could be removed if you fail to attend 2 consecutive meetings without good cause. Obviously, if you have cause for missing those meetings, that would not be counted against you. You could be removed for failure to follow the rules. And these would be quarterly meetings that would take place at the police department or otherwise. And I think what the chief envisions is these would be less formal meetings. These would be a conversation between the chief and the members. Some individual members could bring these issues back to the chief and hear from the chief as to what his position was on those and what he's willing to do to address those issues. The chief would set the agendas, and again with input from the council, but really looking to utilize the council to work on projects that are going on within the police department, initiatives the police department has to work on those issues. And again, the records would be kept by the group as far as the minutes, and we anticipate they would submit an annual report to public safety and council to report on what they've done for the previous year. And I can answer questions as well.
Any questions for Mr. Rummelin or Chief Walker?
So what prompted the switch? I mean, I get the whole, the department's evolving, but what's the fundamental difference between the liaison group and CPAC?
Right now, it's engagement, and it is moving forward with our vision of what public safety look like in the next 10 years versus what we've done in the past 15 to 10 years with the previous group. Not saying that they was there that long, but that's some of the issues that they were addressing. We've made a lot of changes at the police department. And right now, the piece that I'm lacking, and not necessarily from the Citizens Advisory Group, but what I'm looking to fill the gap with, is that community engagement piece. I'm not looking for and I'm saying this, I'm not looking for a hobby. I need engagement in the community that spreads across every facet of the community, meaning businesses, clergy, high school, the neighborhood associations. One of the pieces that I really want to focus on, I added 2 new positions at the police department within this time frame. One with the Youth Advisory Council with Jerome Smalls. And then I added a Hispanic liaison piece. And I need some engagement with the community on those 2 fronts that we're currently not really touching with the current setup. So it's really just evolving and pushing forward the public safety agenda.
And just for clarity, as I understand it, and maybe you can give a little bit of color on this, and perhaps Councilmember Seekings and Brady, y'all are, I think, here. As I understand it, when this was initially set up by Mullins, it then evolved when Reynolds came in. And so what this is kind of what your objectives are and needs are
Yes, sir.
for this advisory committee, and it evolves. I mean, the idea is that kind of each police chief comes in and, says what they would like to have from it, and it goes from there. So that made a lot of sense to me when it was explained that way. Just wanted to make sure
Yes,
that
sir.
was how you understood it, yeah.
Yes, sir. And it's really based on that evolve, and it's really the community engagement. I think we have so much potential, and getting the right folks and people that want to stay on the current advisory council, we welcome. But it's really just changing our trajectory of what we're doing as a collective group, and really adding value to what the community is.
One other point I just want to make for the purpose of this committee, just in a larger point with regards to a lot of these commissions and groups, incredibly helpful and impactful on a variety of fronts. One thing, though, I think we do need to work on better clarity on, and I appreciate this being addressed in your proposed amendments, and that is the amount of staff time that is needed to cover these committees and commissions is a lot. And if we adopt something per ordinance, usually that means that we have to have, when there's a formal meeting, we have to have minutes, and we have to have somebody from staff there to address it. And a few of these, and I'm not sure if CPAC was one of them, but a few start to have like subcommittees and subcommittees, and there's a real gray area as to whether or not we're supposed to be providing minutes and services to those. So I think making sure, not that we're against subcommittees or that, but it needs to be formalized so that we know what we're getting into as we move forward with these commissions and committees and any amendments to them. So I appreciate y'all laying out that the committee itself would be responsible for taking its own minutes and records. I think on a limited basis, we're certainly in the city happy to provide that, but the more we can outsource that to the committees themselves and have them take responsibility for themselves, the better off it's going to be on our staff.
Also, I think, Mr. Mayor and Council, I believe even with that, with the committee, if they need assistance from the all staff, I think we can be able to give them some assistance if it's needed.
No, absolutely. And I think we are here to support, no question. You want to make sure that there are some frameworks for how and when that service is needed and provided, not, kind of keeping it as out of the gray area, right? Just having it clearly defined.
Does this need action, or is this just report out from the chief?
I think we probably would want to move to approve the recommendations from the police department to send it to council for approval.
As drafted, and have it all clear that what the rights and responsibilities of everybody are and how it's going to operate. We good
Right.
to go with all that?
Yeah.
This may be more of a question for Steve, but was CPAC established by ordinance?
It was not.
Okay.
That was actually in anticipation of possibly changing it in the future, using it as a pilot and seeing how it went in the first few years, so.
But it
Yeah.
was approved by council.
The
Yes.
guidelines approved by
Okay.
council, yes.
Okay, well, so I would make a motion to approve the proposed amendments and send to city council.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, Councilman seeking second, but Councilman Tinkler has a question.
Councilman
I know,
Tinker.
well, one of the parts of the existing CPAC is that it's a public meeting, correct? Is it, I mean, is this expected to be a public meeting as well, or does this fall under the law that
It does
requires?
fall under the FOIA requirements, so we would have to give notice of the meetings and they would be open to the public.
Okay, any other discussion? So we have a motion to approve the establishment of the Chief Citizens Liaison Group to replace the Citizens Police Advisory Council, and we had a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Let's have it. Thank you, Chief Walker. Thank you, Mr. Rumlin. Appreciate your help with that. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that's put in so much time with the Citizens Police Advisory Council. And again, if you're interested, we hope you will continue to serve on this new Chief Citizens Liaison Group as well. So is there anything else to come before this committee this afternoon? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Kev.
All right, you too, Mitch. Thank you.